Hello, this is Laura Live, and today we're going to talk about what is apraxia. I had some moms asking me that on our secret Facebook page run by Mary Kay Deal, and if you're not on that secret Facebook page, I suggest you contact Mary Kay Deal on Facebook and ask for an invitation, because there are thousands of parents and therapists and teachers on that Facebook site that talk about GemIIni and lots of other things too. It's absolutely phenomenal, and you really need to get that. It's probably the best source of information I've ever seen ever in special needs in my life. And it's not too complicated, like some of them are really complicated. It's not too complicated. So what is apraxia? You hear people talking about it. Well, in America, United States, we call it apraxia. In the UK, they call it dyspraxia. And we actually use the word dyspraxia in the US too, but we mean about the body typically. Now, what I'm about to tell you is not technically correct because nobody actually uses the technically correct terms. What I'm going to talk about is what is common practice and what's commonly used terms. So these sorts of terms, even definitions of autism and any kinds of disorders or diseases or conditions, change almost on a yearly basis. It seems like with the DSM-4 now 5 and so I'm not going to talk about what's technical. I'm going to talk about what do people use in practice. What do people mean when they say apraxia? So first we got to think about what apraxia is. We're talking about speech. So dyspraxia of the mouth or dyspraxia of speech. We call in the U.S. apraxia. Now what is it? Well, first off, we used to call it mutism a long time ago. And so it is defined in practice, again, by the desire and the knowledge of how to speak and how to talk and what to say, but the inability to make the sounds come out of your mouth. There seems to be a connection problem between your brain and the sounds coming out. And it's very frustrating because you know what you want to say, but you can't say it. It's different than not knowing what to say. Not knowing what to say is a cognitive problem where it's not in the brain to begin with. You just don't know. You don't understand. And if you did understand, you could say it. So we at our GemIIni students, a lot of our GemIIni students have been suspected of apraxia or diagnosed with apraxia. And then they start using GemIIni. And guess what? They start to talk. It may take longer. It may take 4 or 5 months. But they start to talk just fine. In fact, they even start to script, which means that they're just talking like crazy. Scripting is the polar opposite of apraxia. So what happened with these students? Well, maybe they just didn't know what to say. They didn't know how, and we taught them how, and they weren't apraxic at all. There was no problem. Or maybe they had apraxia or were apraxic, and GemIIni connected the connection problem between the mouth and the head. Or maybe it's a combination of the two. USC's Keck Institute is wanting to do fMRI scans to try to see what's going on with GemIIni, because the results are so phenomenal that now we have some of the top, maybe the top neurologist in the whole world wanting to do a study on fMRIs with GemIIni. So that's very exciting. Tricky with little kids to get little kids into one of those big machines. So we're working out those details. It's been done before. So it is possible, but it's tricky. So why do you care? I guess we could say, why would a parent care if a child has the diagnosis of apraxia? What difference does it make? If you can't talk, what does it matter? Does the label have on it? Well, it depends on where you live, depends on your school district, depends on your insurance company. Some places, if you have the label apraxia, you will get more or different types of services. Some places, it makes no difference whatsoever. With GemIIni, it actually does make a difference because we use the program differently if there's a connection problem versus just trying to teach them what to say. If there's a connection problem, we want lots of repetition, thousands and thousands and thousands of reps. And the way we get that is by watching that close-up of the mouth, said over and over and over again. Now, your student is going to learn what it is right away. Like if you're learning to say cat, within the first 3 videos, they're going to understand that that sound, cat, means an object, means a cat, means a thing, a living thing. They still won't be able to say it, though, if they have apraxia. They may get frustrated that they can't say it. They get very frustrated. And if you see some kind of frustration, that's a big indicator there that there's apraxia. So this is why we want to make sure that we are testing receptively every week to see if they're understanding it. Most parents don't test receptively, so they have actually no idea how much GemIIni is working. When people who test receptively know the crazy results that are happening inside the child's brain. But people who don't test receptively have no idea. They just say, oh, he's not talking, and they stop. That's the worst thing you can do. Worse, worse, worse. Needs a lot of reps. If he's not talking, he needs GemIIni even more, because he may need 8,000 to 10,000 reps, and this is the only way he's going to get it. Only way. You're not going to have a therapist sit in front of him for 12 hours a day going, cat, cat, cat. It's just not going to happen. Where you could get those kind of reps in a computer program. So you've got to first see, is it an understanding, a cognition problem, or is it a speech apraxia problem where you've got this connection up? Now, if we have decided, yep, we have an apraxia problem, we're going to run the Apraxia Protocol. And this is devised this protocol because so many people think that people who are mute, who are apraxic, don't have cognitive ability. And so they teach them the same dumb 3 words for years, and they're out of their mind. And many of these people have gone on to learn by themselves, just figured it out, because nobody will teach them. And the most so frustrating. So we don't want that to happen to our students. So we're going to teach them 2 different sessions a day. Usually with typical autism or Down syndrome or people where we don't have a problem with apraxia, you run 1 session a day. With apraxia, you're going to run 2 a day. And you're going to have them watch it 3 different viewing sessions a day. The first viewing session, you're going to pick 3 high interest words that are useful. Maybe yes, no, and mom, or mom and a favorite food and yes, or something like that. And you're going to put every other funny video from the humor category. So funny, yes. Funny, no. Funny, mom. That kind of thing. The session's going to be about 2 minutes long, most tops, maybe less. And they're going to watch that for 10 to 15 minutes a day. And so they're going to watch it 7 to 14 times a day. And then the other 2 sessions, you're going to make a video, or you're going to use Quick Start, or you're going to create your own video session. That's a learning one. That's going to so they'll be learning things every week, and that's going to change every week. Doesn't matter if they don't say it. I don't care if they don't say it. I almost don't even care. Try receptive testing. If they look like they're trying receptively and they're not getting it, so show it a second week and see what happens. If after the second weeks they actually are trying receptively and they're not getting it, call us. That's the time to call us. If it looks like they're not getting how to test, like they don't know how to point, or they're just pressing buttons, and so you're still not sure if they understand receptively, print out the flashcards from your session. In my sessions, you can say print out all the flashcards and try, instead of using the computer for the receptive test, try flashcards. That will narrow it down to see how they're doing. If after second week of using flashcards, they still don't know anything receptively, that's really rare. That is maybe 1%. I don't even know, not even 1%. And you need to call us if that's the case, because we need to put our heads together and see what's going on. Maybe there's a hearing problem that you don't know of. Maybe there's lots of other things. We have got to just kind of go down the list. So call us if there's a problem. It's super duper rare. So there's a funny thing going around by specialists in the area of apraxia that none of the rest of us can't figure out. It's kind of goofy if you ask me, but they say that they can't diagnose apraxia if the student isn't talking. They need them to be talking to diagnose whether they have apraxia. But that's the whole reason we say they have apraxia, because they're not talking. That's part of it. There's a small subset of professionals who insist on this. And the rest of us are at odds just trying to figure out what the heck they're talking about. If you have a professional who says, I'm sorry, we can't diagnose your child with apraxia because they're not talking, maybe you should just go find somebody who will. there are people who don't need them to talk. There's also dyspraxia, which they call dyspraxia of speech in English. Dyspraxia in the United States would be body. So a lot of our kids also have dyspraxia where they can't cross the midline. Their hands and their arms don't walk sort of a cross pattern when they walk or when they crawl. And that's thinking of what you want your body to do, but your body not doing it. So a lot of people who are nonverbal on the spectrum, who are really bright, have a hard time controlling their bodies as well. And so they look to the outside world like they have severe cognitive impairment. Severe. And actually, they don't have any cognitive impairment as far as they understand everything. They just can't get their body to move, and they can't get their mouth to say it. And they've talked about how they feel like they're trapped in their body. And it's the feeling, I've talked about this before. We know what that feels like now because of this wonderful paper that was published on people with autism having hyperconnective default networks, or their dream state. And so if you've ever been in a dream and you can't run, you can't scream, you can't talk, you can't move, that's what they feel like all the time. They're entrapped in their body, and their body won't do what they want it to do. Can you imagine the frustration if you're like that all the time? GemIIni, it appears, is able to wake up students' active network and get them more engaged with their body, with their mouth, with their eyes, with everything. And that's why we think it's actually affecting apraxia. That part of apraxia may be, again, this is just observation, may be caused by this hyper-connected default network in conjunction with other things. So far, now I know therapists who say they don't believe. A lot of people will say, I'm sorry, Apraxia can't help you. There's nothing you can do if you have apraxia. I know I've talked to special therapists these are the old timers who've been in it for 40 years, who say that's nonsense. It just takes more concerted effort, looking at the mouth, working with mirrors. Now that they see GemIIni, that's it. That's what we used to do 30 years ago in vivo, one-to-one, when we had 40 hours a week with a kid. Now we are lucky if we have 40 minutes a week with a kid. So this is where it actually can help quite a bit. Again, for most people, the diagnosis won't really change anything because your services are dependent on results, like if your child is talking. But for some places, with some insurance companies and some school districts, if you have a diagnosis of apraxia, things could change. You can get more services and different services. So you first want, before you actually worry, because it can be very frustrating for parents. I know a lot of parents who have been trying to get their children diagnosed with apraxia, and it's obvious to everybody in the Christmas tree that they have it, and they still can't get anybody to diagnose it. And so rather than you put yourself through that horrible frustration, find out if it's even going to make a difference. Like I said, it's easy for GemIIni because if you go through week 6 and you play the responding when called game and they're not responding, if that's true, they're not responding. They didn't say hi. They didn't say what. They didn't do everything you're supposed to do in the game. You probably got apraxia. If your child is successful with receptive testing and not saying anything, if your child's moving his mouth and no sounds coming out, if you see him get frustrated, sometimes they get frustrated and they'll just imagine yourself. If you couldn't get the words out, what you would look like. Well, that's what they look like. It's pretty, when you think about it and you say, why is he so angry? Well, I'd be angry too. That's a very, you can empathize and you can recognize the look on someone's face if you think of it that way. If you can take a video of that and send it to the therapist and say, what would you feel like if you couldn't talk either? So that's, big problem there. So let me get some of these questions. You just confirmed to me that my son has apraxia. Viva. He understands everything, just has a very hard time talking. Where is the protocol for apraxia in GemIIni? Well, Viva, you just need to get on with one of our callers, and we will teach you how to do the protocol. I think if you go to the user guide, the parent user guide, it's in there, but the fastest thing you can do is to contact a scheduled call with our team, and we will help you that way. It's pretty easy, but it's easier if someone talks you through it, because they're going to want you to talk to somebody about specifically which videos you want to put in the Apraxia session. My son is 4, close to 5. I'm so glad I pay your program for 6 months. Hey, hi, wonderful. That's fantastic. I'm glad he's doing so well. Needs to be cheaper. Tawana, do you know that we have scholarships? Have you applied for a scholarship? No one has ever turned away for inability to pay, ever. No one. It's specifically designed that way so that everybody can afford it. Sometimes I think people don't read, they just see the price on the website. Right underneath that, it says need a scholarship. And maybe we need to make need a scholarship red or something, because most people know about the scholarships, but I'm hearing all the time that people think, oh, it's too expensive, I can't afford it, and they just never heard of the scholarship program. So if you need help paying, click on Start Here and follow the prompts, and it'll come up and say, do you need help or do you need a scholarship? Click on that, fill out the form, and within 3 or 4 days, you'll know if you've been awarded the scholarship. I think that's what all the little angry faces I saw before. People were mad about the price. I don't know. I think it's all over the website. We talk about scholarships all the time. Everybody's talking about scholarships. I don't know how to get the word out anymore. It's there. The program never worked for my son on his iPad. Okay, Elizabeth. First off, did you use it? Oh, it never worked for my son on his iPad. Did the iPad not work? Or did it not work for your son? If the iPad didn't work, it can't be too old of an iPad. I think it has to be within the last 5 years. But there's a bazillion different ways we get it to work, either on the iPad or on just for your son. First off, you need to watch during meals. You need to watch in the car during bath time. You can transfer it to the big screen in your living room, and you can watch that way. With some students, we've seen that it takes 6 months of watching before their brain cooks up to the mouth. Did you test receptively? 99.999% of the people, or I'm almost say 100, but there's got to be someone out there that I don't know of, who say the program didn't work for them, never tested their child. They don't know. And when we go back with them and we say, okay, let's look and see what's wrong, we have them test. They're learning everything receptively, and they have apraxia and that's undiagnosed, and the parents don't know that. And so they're expecting the kid to talk. They never tested him receptively, and so they don't understand that he's learning everything. Everything. I mean, then we have to go back and use the Apraxia Protocol. Please get on the phone with us, talk to us, let us find out what's going on, because when we talk to people, 99% of the time we find the problem. I love talking to you guys on the phone. It has helped me tons. I'm going to schedule a call. And yes, you guys are angels. We benefit of your scholarship and are forever grateful. Great, Viva. Oh, I'm missing. Here we go. Meg, will the scholarship cover 2 children in the household? Yes. So if you want to track the data of the 2 different children, you have to have 2 separate accounts. If you don't care about data, they can share an account. The second account is only $10 extra, $10 a month. And that's below our cost. So if you want to track their data, it's a good idea to track data. It's a really good idea. Especially if you have children who are on more the severe end of the spectrum, you want to track their data. But again, it's not necessary. They can share. The program didn't work. It's a new iPad. Okay, the program didn't work. Did you mean it didn't play on the iPad? Or that it played fine, but it didn't work for your son? So is it a technology program, or is it a learning technology problem or a learning problem? I called many times and no one was able to help me. I did use on the laptop for a few and it was good, but then he was on the go, so like I said, in the car while eating. Okay, did you put, Elizabeth, did you put the, this called many times and no one's able to help you? That's very strange, because did you schedule a call? Or did you just call the phone number on the computer? But either way, we should have been able to help you. Did you use the app? Or did you just try to stream it onto your... So are we having an app problem on the iPad? So here, hopefully you'll answer me that question. And we're going to narrow it down here. I swear my son has this and his school is treat him like a bad kid. Oh, yeah. That's where a diagnosis could help, because then they'll realize it's a issue. Yes, it didn't play. He was doing good and talking more when he was doing it on my laptop. My daughter has apraxia. Okay, Elizabeth. Yes, it didn't play. So Elizabeth, did you use the app? Just tell me, yes, I used the app. Or no, I tried to stream it from the internet. So if you use the app and it didn't play, it means that one of the videos in your session was breaking the session. It happens in about 2% of sessions. And it's something to do with your internet. When the app was uploading, one of the videos kind of uploaded halfway, and so you'll have to fix it. And it happened to me once, and I got it fixed right away. Yes, I use the app. Okay. So you're going to want to uninstall the app, install the app again, go back to your child's My Sessions, and play that session on the laptop and see if it plays through. If it plays through on your laptop, then go ahead and try it on the app. It should be fine then. If it doesn't play through on the laptop, it means you got a bunky video and you need to do a contact us email. We'll go in there and we'll figure out what's wrong with that video. There's no reason why it shouldn't play. I use the app. Everybody uses the app. Thousands of people use the app. We've got to get that. You should be able to get that fixed for you simply. You can be able to nail down the problem. The best way for us to get in contact with you is if you go to the contact us page, write us out your problem, even put in your phone number, your username, and your son's username, and we will go in and we'll see what session's not playing, and we can see if we can fix it from our back end. Okay, I had just canceled because I got so frustrated. Do I just start all over again? No, you don't have to start over again. You can always log in with your account. Your account, the parent account never gets unactivated. Go into your account, and go to your student's account, and then it'll pop up and it says, would you like to go ahead and activate it again and contact us? I'm so glad that you commented, because usually people get a hold of us really easily. If you were trying the phone number, maybe that's what it was. The phone number is not something we rarely use it. People almost never call us. They email us because there's so much information. They want it just easy. It's easier to cut and paste. Here's my information, so we can go and do some trouble seeking. So try the email first. We'll get this taken care of. Samantha Herman, I watch all of these. I love seeing you speak. Blessings. Hello, Samantha. I hope you're doing well. Okay, Elizabeth, I think we'll get that taken care of. All right. So if you have any other questions on apraxia, I am not a speech language pathologist. I am a mom who's run a clinic with speech language pathologists, and I am on lots of boards, and I understand and hear what everybody's saying. So that's what I'm saying. This is not technical. If you were going to go into a speech path master's class and take a test on what is apraxia, if you just listen to me, you would fail the test, okay? Because it's not clinical at all, what I just said. But it's practical. And it's the clinical explanation of apraxia is confusing, contradicting, and depending on who's giving it, lots of different people have devised their own definitions, I find, from a point of view from a parent. And since most of you people are listening to me are parents, this is it's the practicalness of it. So I didn't say that well, but you know what I mean. So, all right. If you think your child has apraxia or dyspraxia, test them receptively. If he gets them all receptively, then you have a good idea. But it may not be a forever diagnosis, because we have kids who were diagnosed with apraxia 6 months after using GemIIni are just speaking on crazy lots of speech. They never had apraxia to begin with, or we may have fixed it. Maybe. We'll find out in these fMRI studies. All right. Please share and subscribe to these videos.